right, folks, it is the guy with the bow tie checking in with you live for another edition of Business with Benefits. To my right, we have the amazing Michael Mayer, super smart guy, and a Prince fan, if you can see in his background right there.
Huge Prince fan.
Perfect, I love it. So first off, hashtag team live. If you're team live right now, hashtag team replay for watching this later. Ecommerce. Obviously, COVID-19 has changed the way a lot of businesses do things. Retail in some capacity is doing better, but it's also doing worse in places that can't have that physical experience. So Michael is a pro at e-commerce. So for people that don't know who you are, Michael, kind of let them know why they should listen to you.
Yeah, absolutely. So I run a service agency called Cartology, and our whole business is helping brands gain greater visibility and grow revenue on the Amazon marketplace. We do work in some other areas as well, but Amazon is really our bread and butter. We serve people, which is our mission statement, to serve. It's just that, but we serve people by helping their brands to grow on Amazon. And there's just so many components and pieces that we'll kind of dive into. With that, there's content, there's SEO, there's advertising, there's all these different pieces, but really just helping people to utilize Amazon as a tool to grow their business.
Okay, so let's kind of break that down. So how do you get started? Because I mean, a lot of people say they want to do an Amazon business, and that's kind of where it ends most times. But how did you get started?
Right. So I got started back in 2010. I started an e-commerce company because I hated my job. And I just wanted to get out. So I was like, okay, what skill sets do I have? I knew someone who had started a retail business actually using eBay first. And then he got on Amazon. He's like, man, he helped me get started on eBay. And I really just was I was a reseller essentially. So I went to a trade show and invested some money, put that money down in some inventory, started listing it on eBay. And over the next year, I was able to create a business that I was able to sustain me. And so I was able to leave that job that I didn't like. And then as soon as I left, I was like, okay, I have more time now, because I was working that job full time. I was teaching drum lessons part-time. And I was starting up this e-commerce business because I was like, I just got to get out. So I was like kind of fragmenting myself a little bit, but ended up, generating enough money to go out and be an entrepreneur. And as soon as I got off that job, I got on Amazon. I got my products on Amazon, and things just like skyrocketed from there. Ton of potential. Sales went up. It ended up, Amazon was 70% of my revenue. Had a great business going for about 6 years. And back in 2016, had a huge change in the market where in 2015, Amazon had opened up the doors to Chinese sellers, which is fine. But now they were coming in, and manufacturers were selling products that were, much, much cheaper, basically at like a wholesale cost to people. Service wasn't the same, product quality wasn't necessarily the same, but they were kind of coming in, and I just didn't have the cash flow to sustain that. And so I had to really think hard, okay, what do I want to do? And it was kind of a halt, similar to what I know people are probably experiencing right now with coronavirus. And I just had to pivot and say, okay, what am I going to do with my skill set? And so I started taking on freelance and consulting roles, which I had done in the past, but started to take these on at a greater capacity, and was doing more generalized e-commerce, but then realized, wow, there is a ton of demand for Amazon. And I loved the platform. I really enjoyed advertising. It just started, a year or so before I went into the service side. And so it was still new, but I really enjoyed that aspect of it. And so I just really leaned into that and quickly realized I'm going to have to scale this thing. And so I started to build a team around me. The team now is about 13 people. Everyone works remotely. So we've got people in the US, we've got someone in Saudi Arabia, we've got people in the Philippines, people in the UK. We've been able to source talent from all over, utilizing some freelance agencies, but also LinkedIn. My business partner, Brittany McCormick, she is the VP of Business Development for Cartology. And I met her on LinkedIn. And we have been working together for about the past 2 years. But I really just utilized my network and said, hey, I'm looking for account managers. I'm looking for help. Posted that, and she commented on my post. We connected, and we'll be working together ever since. And it's been great. So service agency is now serving all different kinds of brands. But ideally, we're serving about small to medium-sized brands, maybe doing anywhere from 1 to 20 million in revenue total for the company, and are wanting to access Amazon and access that power. And because if you're a digital marketer, your skill set has some application when it comes to Amazon, but it's still a slightly different interface. And this is really, really important. Amazon is the only marketplace and the only advertising platform where your ad sales actually affect and can boost your organic ranking. And so that's huge. When you're advertising on AdWords, your ads are efficient or they're not efficient, and you make optimizations. And also, if you're looking at stuff from your website perspective on Google Analytics, you can see what keywords people are coming on or what searches. Amazon's a lot more limited, but because we know that ads sales actually affect organic sales, that totally changes the game.
Okay. And I have a quick check-in from some comments. We had Shogo said hi. Hey, Shogo, thanks for checking in. And Belinda Landers Jackson said, what's up, Michael?
Hey, what's up, Belinda Landers?
So Amazon right now is the 800-pound gorilla, obviously, in retail. And there's some study I read that said about 15,000 retail stores will probably not make it after this whole thing goes down.
Wow.
So about 15,000, and that's as of now. So I can only imagine a lot more retail things closing. So for people that are in the retail space already, what's some things they can do right now to kind of take advantage of the power of Amazon and keep their business going when they can't have people in the store?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. Trying to generate revenue right now with Amazon, if you don't have an account, could be difficult because they have really tightened down the process to verify people's identities. We're actually in the process. We have 3 clients right now who really just had a problem verifying their identity, all legitimate people, but because Amazon's been so strict, they had to hire us to say, okay, we had know how to speak Amazon essentially. I mean, that's the best way to put it. But we know, okay, what is the person who is handling this case? What might they be experiencing? What are they thinking? What's Amazon's perspective? And then we're able to take the information from the business and present it in that way so that they understand it and get accounts turned back on. So but initially, if you really want to get on access to Amazon and you don't have access yet, it's going to be difficult to do. However, the things I would do is start to look at Amazon from maybe a selling perspective. So let's say you have a really cool blow dryer and you got your own brand. Go and look up blow dryers and look at the Amazon space and say, okay, how many search results am I seeing? What am I seeing from some of the other listings that are on the first page? And the reason I say first page is because 90% of people don't go off the first page when they search Amazon.
Okay.
Which is crazy because there might be 40, 50, 60,000 search results and not going off the first page, that gives you about 50. So you can tell people want things now. They want to buy things quickly. They want to kind of get in and get out. Now people are going and doing research on Amazon more. I think it's like 60% of the time now when a product search occurs, it starts on Amazon. It's not even starting on Google anymore or Bing or any other site. It's starting on Amazon. So people are doing research there. But when it comes to buying, people are looking at that first page. A lot of times they're looking for Prime eligible only items. So if Amazon's not fulfilling your item, people are maybe not even seeing it. There's a little Prime toggle switch up at the top in your Amazon app or on the site. You click Prime only and boom, you're seeing Prime only stuff. If your item's not fulfilled by Amazon, then those Prime people aren't even seeing it. But yeah, essentially 90% of people don't go off the first page. So you want to be on that first page. And that's why I said analyze the first page. Look at what's on there. Get an idea for some of the products that are likely doing well. Just because you're on the first page, it doesn't guarantee that you're getting incredible sales. But high likelihood, your product is placing there because Amazon's algorithm has said, hey, this product is worthy to be shown to our customers. And there's a lot of different tools that can help you analyze, analyze the first page. Scope by Seller Labs is one. Jungle Scout is one. Helium 10 is one. There's all these different softwares. And I can even comment later on this and post some of those softwares that are up there. A lot of those places will give you free trials to test something out, but they'll start to tell you, they're all estimates, but they'll start to tell you, hey, this listing might be making $20,000 a month. And it'll aggregate all the data for you. So it'll say, okay, average number of reviews are 600, and average product rating is 4.2 out of 5. And then you can start to analyze that data and then say, okay, do I have a product that could potentially fit into this realm when I search for blow dryer? You start to do more specific keyword searches, but essentially the thing that you can do right now is say, okay, what kind of product do I have? Is it something that there maybe is a market for on Amazon? And I think you'd be surprised. There's several $million, based on my calculations, over $10 million of sales happening each month just for socks. Okay, which is crazy. And now that's not being specific and saying sports socks or dress socks or anything like that. All I'm saying is it's a big market, and there is a niche for you to fit into that. So go and look at your products and say, hey, do I have something that is selling on Amazon right now? Maybe get access to one of those tools and analyze and say, okay, what is the potential that this product might have? And then once you find out the potential, you can start to do research, or I got another tool that I can pop into the comments section, but it'll allow you to go in and check and see, okay, if I wanted Amazon to fulfill my item, how much would it cost me? Then you start to get an idea of what it's going to cost you. Profitability on Amazon is a whole other subject, because people are focused on revenue, like, hey, I'm a 7-figure seller, I'm an 8-figure seller. Or we're helping 7-figure companies turn into 8-figure companies. And that's awesome, but it doesn't mean that you're profitable. And if you're not profitable, you're not going to be around for a very long time. And so that's really where our focus is. But you start to get a glimpse of when you use this special tool that Amazon provides. You can say, oh, Amazon's going to charge me this much to sell it, this much to fulfill it. Do I have room in here to actually make a margin? Yeah. That's some of the things that you can start to do, is just look at what you currently have, especially if you have your own brand, and see, you might even be surprised, hey, is my brand being sold on Amazon and I don't know about it? That's a whole other can of worms. A lot of brands, sell to a bunch of different distributors, and then the distributors sell to other people. And so there are sellers, Amazon sellers, that are savvy, and they're resellers like I started out being, and they're buying a bunch of products and then they're selling on the Amazon marketplace because they've got access to it. But if you're a brand and you're not owning that yourself, then I think you're missing out. One, on keeping your brand reputation solid, and two, revenue. You're missing out on a ton of revenue.
Well, let's break that down a little more, because there's different ways to use Amazon. And real quick, Erica Thompson said hi. Hey, Erica. Nice having you on the live. There's different ways to do Amazon selling, because I think some people think, I want to do an e-commerce business, but I don't have a product I've made up, or I'm not a product creator. So what are the ways people can kind of get into it if they don't have a physical retail store, how they can get into e-commerce?
Okay, so when it comes to Amazon, there's, I'd say four main pathways, but ultimately 3. One is the route that I initially took, which is being a reseller. So you could take generic goods or even branded goods, and you purchase them just like a retail store would do. A lot of times retail stores are selling name brands, so they're buying those at a wholesale cost and they're just reselling it to you. So that's a way to approach Amazon. Some people are physically going into stores and purchasing products that are discounted and then going and selling them on Amazon. So let's say end of Christmas, a bunch of wrapping paper, is like 90% off. I actually got a ton of Christmas lights 2 years ago that were like 90% off. And I'm like, I don't even need all these, but this is a great deal, so I'm going to get a string of lights for $1.
Right.
People are going and buying those, and then they might wait until the season comes around, and then they're going and selling those lights for profit. That's one way to do it. Another way is actually buying wholesale and then reselling those items. Of course, I'm not getting into like, oh, well, this brand won't let you do this and this other brand will, because there's all these externalities to when you do something, but it's essentially being a reseller. The second way is something called private label or white label. Okay. Essentially, you go on and you source a good that's kind of already in the market, but you have your own brand, you have your own trademark. You might be putting some of your own specifications on the product, maybe tailoring this material to be slightly different or have a different color than what's currently on the market. And you're putting your brand, your trademark on that, and then you're selling that to people. So you're not really inventing something, but you're filling a need for a product that's being manufactured and then representing it from your perspective. Okay. And then the last point, which is 2-pronged, is you are a brand and you have a brand story, you have a product line. Those things are kind of set, and you need to find a way to access Amazon to get in front of your target audience that's on there. Those last people are the people that Cartology is working with.
Okay.
Are brands that are in physical retail or have an e-commerce store or are potentially on other marketplaces, and they want to access Amazon and utilize that as a sustainable revenue channel. So we're working with them, and there are both. There's a first party and a third party side.
Okay.
Anyone who doesn't know retail or doesn't quite understand that, essentially there's an invite only program where Amazon says, hey, we like you and we want you to sell products on our platform, but we're going to purchase it essentially wholesale and sell it to people. There's a whole platform and that you access behind that. It's called Vendor Central. And it's a very traditional retail environment where Amazon submits a PO to you, you fulfill the PO, you give them an invoice, they pay you net 30, net 60, something like that. Then there's the 3P side or the third party side where myself, you, Daryl, anyone else that's out there, Whitney, anyone that is wanting to create a store or sell product, they can access Amazon on this self-service side. So they have a brand, and they're brands that are doing tens of millions of dollars on this 3P side. It's just kind of how you, if you get an invite to Vendor Central, do you want to accept that? Do you want to access the third party side? There are some brands that are on this vendor side and they see because they can start to sell their stuff on consignment and they get more of the retail profit on this third party side. They're like, okay, we want to access it that way instead of being on Vendor Central. But there's really those three main ways. All valid ways of accessing Amazon. You've just got different caveats and different opportunities based on the one that you choose.
Okay, so you don't have to be a creator or an inventor to sell on Amazon. You have different routes. But right now, with everything being the way it is, less people are going out. So is Amazon the only channel people should focus on right now, or should we kind of mix it up a little bit?
Amazon is a great. So first of all the clients that we serve, we're helping them with their Amazon channel. We always recommend that people should take an omni-channel approach. And all that means is accessing retail in different places. Just because you're in Nordstrom and you have your own retail store and your own e-commerce store, it doesn't mean that your own e-commerce store online, of course, but you've got like a Shopify or WordPress site or something like that. Just because you're accessing those points, it doesn't mean that you're fully penetrating the market and that you're getting out there and getting access to everyone that you could be generating revenue from. And honestly, creating a lifelong connection as a brand.
Okay.
So we recommend that people take an omni-channel approach so that they're accessing people from all angles. But one of the other things and reasons why we stress omni-channel is because each channel has its own volatilities. I think that's the word, but I'm just going to go with it. So Amazon can be volatile at times because if they see a product has a high return rate, they'll shut that product right down and say, hey, you've got a high return rate on this product, so we're not going to let you sell it until you figure that out. Because they want to provide the best possible experience for the customers, understandably so. So Amazon can be volatile at times, but as we now see, retail can be volatile too. If this virus has shut down entire stores, it has shut down malls, it has shut down entire brands. People are having to lay people off, furlough people, close down stores, reconsider how they're approaching things. Just after about a month of this virus coming into the United States and starting to affect people, and we're going to continue to see things compound from there because we're starting to actually get states that are saying, "Hey, we're gonna do a lockdown now," as opposed to some of the earlier states that were saying, "Hey, we're going to lock down people." So people are starting to catch on. And I'm not going to pretend to know or really understand the curve of the disease, but we're going to still continue to see effects even after the disease is gone. So Amazon, I say all that to say omni-channels is really the approach you want to take so that you are accessing the market appropriately. And Amazon is another shelf space. So if your product is, I'm trying to think of a good example, but essentially Amazon is another shelf space that you want to be on because people are going and they're looking there. And you might say, oh, our consumers aren't, our brand loyalists aren't shopping on Amazon. Okay, one, I would say, how do you know that? Two, because there are ways that you can do research to find that out. But just saying, oh, well, that's not where our people shop is ludicrous, because a lot of people use Prime, or Prime members, or utilize Amazon, whether they're buying luxury goods on there or not. Yeah, that's something to consider. But a lot of people are using Amazon. 300 million active users on Amazon in the US. That's a big chunk of the population. That all that means is, what's that?
Pretty much everybody.
Pretty much everybody. All that means is someone has purchased one thing in the past year. Prime members make up about 110 million. That's a really, really big chunk of those active users. And those Prime members spend double what non-Prime members spend. So non-Prime members might spend $600 a year on Amazon. Prime members are spending maybe $1,400. So they're spending significantly more, and they're active. They are looking for Prime only stuff. So if you're not accessing that Prime audience, it's very likely that you're leaving some shoppers. Leaving some shoppers on the table, leaving some revenue on the table. That brings up some other issues like sales cannibalization. I just talked about this on on LinkedIn. I posted about it. Had a video that talked about some Amazon myths. People are worried, oh, well, we don't want to sell on Amazon because it's going to take over our sales on our website or in retail. And like I said earlier, 60% of people are going and doing product research or just product searches on first. So from a brand visibility standpoint, if you're not on Amazon, people may not see your product as credible as the one that they do find on Amazon. There are grocery brands we've worked with, and a lot of times getting to Whole Foods is quite an accomplishment. And a lot of times Whole Foods will say, hey, show us a product listing on Amazon, because they want to see reviews. They want to see product packaging, marketing, all that kind of stuff. And they want to know, is it legit? So even if you're not using Amazon as a way to generate revenue, it is a trusted channel. The majority of products on Amazon, they're not creating them, they're not making them. And they have some their own private label brands. But it's a few percentage points of the total items that are being offered on there. And you could probably do a whole show just on Amazon's private label stuff and how people believe that Amazon is trying to steal their business. And there's some valid facts on both Amazon's side, to their credit, and also to the other sellers that are on there. But when it comes to majority of the products, Amazon's not selling them. They have just or doesn't own or create them. They've just created a trusted distribution network. So they've said, hey, we're going to get it to you in 2 days, and they get it to you in 2 days. They say that they are going to give you a full refund for something. They give you a full refund. They treat you like a king or a queen. So they've delivered on their promises, and all they started doing was books. Like it seemed like an outdated media source in the late 90s selling books, and it became huge, putting places like Barnes & Noble, Borders, all kinds of different bookstores out of business or running them down because they had this great model that worked. And they showed up, they did the work, and they delivered what they promised. So Amazon has created this trusted distribution network. I'm bringing it back home right now. Okay, I'm bringing it back to, why should maybe people look at Amazon, or is there something else that they can be doing, like creating their own e-commerce store? Amazon has created this trusted channel, and they have their own set of customers. So when you go and you get on Amazon, you're not just getting in front of your current brand loyalists, you're getting an opportunity to actually access Amazon customers. And that's why Amazon charges you to be on there. But you get access to Amazon customers, and you can now say, hey, we've got this great product that we can offer you. Look at the reviews. If you have a problem with it, we're going to take care of you. You can see that because we responded to this negative review. Look at this video. I mean, you've got all these opportunities to talk about your brand now and actually bring people in to know more about your brand, so much so that you're going to access this Prime audience who is very, very active on Amazon. And now you're going to get them interested in your brand, and they're going to start looking your brand up on social media. They're going to start going and doing searches for your brand and looking for you outside because people are active on social media. So they're going to go and they're going to follow you. And if you've got good content or you continue to intrigue them, it's highly likely that they're going to go onto your site and they're going to start to see some of the other things you offer. And that's where you get into really cool ways to both grow off Amazon and on Amazon. But one of the reasons why Amazon, I think, is such a perfect match for right now is they've got the logistics infrastructure. They've got the captive audience that is coming. We highly recommend people to have their own e-commerce store, but you have to get traffic to the store. And unless you've got this incredible brand that just is popping up overnight and is doing amazing things, you got to pay to get traffic to get there. And that takes time and that takes money. So Amazon's got this captive audience. You can now advertise and get in front of those people that are already there. So they've got the ad network, they've got the captive audience, they've got the logistics, they've got the framework there, and you really just get to plug your product in. And it's more complicated than that, but essentially you get to plug your product in and now access this market of people that believe in Amazon, believe that when they get the product, it's going to be great. And if they don't like it, they're going to get a refund, but they're trusting. And so now you're accessing that trust, that trusted network.
That definitely makes sense. I mean, I'm the same way at Amazon. I'll look up products and search them and things of the nature. So it is definitely a trusted channel for me. And I had a quick comment from Stacy DeMarco. She's like, great info about Amazon. Thanks, Michael.
Stacy,
I want to talk about cost though. You basically mentioned that paying for these, you got to pay to be on Amazon. So if somebody's here, their job was laid off or their business shut down, and they're like, what do I do now? You see all these books and people boasting about start an Amazon business with little to no money or things like that. So to really get an Amazon business going, before you think about product costs, what is the actual overhead someone's looking at for getting their store going on just Amazon for easy sake?
Yeah. So all of those gurus that are talking about, start an Amazon business with $500 and turn it into six figures. Or we turned, got up to $100,000 in sales in 6 months or under a year, turn it into $1 million business. There are so many factors that go into that. And it's really frustrating from my standpoint because as an agency owner, we're seeing the reality of what's happening in the marketplace, managing multiple brands. We understand that it can take an incredible cost at times. I think ultimately it comes down to managing your expectations. Are you wanting to grow a business and aggressively grow, and do you have the capital to invest in that? Or are you looking to build something sustainable long-term? Okay. Some people want both of those at the same time, and those two things conflict, of course. Scale and efficiency are very, very difficult. You can make them intersect, but typically at the sake of one of those two things, one of those gets sacrificed. So when we're looking at Amazon from a cost perspective, and really what to expect going in, if you are someone that has, I'm going to speak directly to the people that have been laid off and they're thinking, what can I do now? So do a little research on creating your own private label brand on Amazon. There's a ton of information out there. I'm not saying all of it is going to be super, super accurate, but go and look up just some of the basic model. Like, okay, I source from here. I create a brand and then I go and sell this product on Amazon, and I kind of figure out what the costs are, what the market looks like. Figure out if you've got money to invest in product. When I started my e-commerce business, I dropped about $2,000 and I'd saved up the money. So I saved up $2,000. I went and spent it at a trade show that I walked the floors at. And that was back in the day when people were like, they didn't want you to sell on Amazon. They don't. If you sold on Amazon and you told them that, they wouldn't touch you with the 49.5-foot pole. They had you arm's length, and they're like, "Oh yeah, no, we don't sell to people that sell on Amazon." And now you can go to some of those floors, and people are like, "Oh, we want to get on Amazon. We want to get on Amazon." So times have definitely changed. But I went and invested that money, and I was able to turn that $2,000 investment into a six-figure business. I think one of the years, the most that we did in revenue was just under 400,000. That's pretty realistic in my book. And not everyone's going to have $1 million business idea either. And just because you've created $1 million product or multi-million-dollar product, it doesn't mean that you're profitable. The other
Right.
thing that people aren't thinking about when they're hearing someone say, I turned a business of $1,000 into $1 million in a year. Okay, so your initial investment was $1,000, but you didn't talk about the other capital that you had to invest along the way. You didn't talk about the venture capitalists that injected cash into your business. Not everyone's bootstrapping. You didn't talk about the job that you had leading up to this, where you had an extra 100,000 saved up and you could inject that cash into your business. So there's a lot of different components that are there. And so anyone out there, I challenge anyone who is an Amazon guru to actually show some real data and tell the real story about how your Amazon business grew, because there's a ton of factors that are in there. And just saying, I went from point A to point B, if life really is all about the journey, you've missed out on that whole part and you're leaving out a ton of stuff. So for the people that have been laid off and are thinking, what could I do? What's a way that I could start right now and change the trajectory of my life? One, set your expectations correctly. So do not think that you're gonna buy $1,000 worth of product and things are just gonna sell like crazy. We have so many consults that we do where people say, I put my item up on Amazon and we didn't sell anything. And it's the best product out there. Okay, well, 90% of people don't go past the first page. We know that, Amazon said that. A lot of products out there, what does Amazon consider when they put a product on the first page? So Amazon's algorithm takes a lot of things into consideration, your reviews, where your product is geographically located now, but some of the big things are sales history and sales velocity. So if you put your product on Amazon, they'll give you like a 30 to 60 day window where they might boost your product to the first page. Okay. But once you're on the first page, what do your reviews look like? What do your images look like? What is your product? How is it unique from the other products? There's all these other factors that start to come into play. And then you start to realize, oh, wow, it really does take time to accumulate reviews. It takes time to keep your product on the first page because you have to get sales history. So there's a little bit of a chicken and an egg scenario. Yeah. If Amazon values sales history, and in order to get on the first page, you have to have sales history, but 90% of people don't go past the first page. How does that really equate to something successful? But I would challenge any of the gurus out there to really show the real story. Our mutual friend Ronell Richards talks a lot about entrepreneur porn, and no more entrepreneur porn. All those Amazon gurus out there, it's all entrepreneur porn. I went from this to this and in this time frame. It's all a bunch of BS, and I'm actually going to post about that a LinkedIn here this week, because I want people to see the reality of the situation. It takes time. It takes investment. When a lot of brands get started on Amazon, they're investing money. They're not breaking even or being profitable. They're investing money into the business so that 6 months from now, the business can be profitable. So that a year from now, the business can be profitable. And that's why being omni-channel can actually help that. If you're generating a profit on your website because your costs are a little bit lower because it's not Amazon, but maybe you're not getting quite the traffic you want, you can take your existing product and use Amazon to generate some more revenue, but also take some of that money, that profit that you're getting from your website, and help boost Amazon to grow so that eventually you have a profitable channel, and that can allow you to have cash to bring back into your e-commerce business, or whatever other channels that you're on. Okay, perfect. Yeah, so I mean, you think about, hey, what's a product that I like, or what's something that I like, or what is a problem that I have that needs to be solved from a product perspective, and just start to do some research on Amazon and say, is this something that is feasible? Start to look up private label stuff and get an idea of what might it cost me to get this started from an inventory perspective. How much is it going to cost to send that stuff over to Amazon or fulfill it if it's coming from China, or a lot of people are moving to Taiwan or India or any other place that's not China right now, because a lot of that stuff is actually still shut down. They shut down for the Chinese New Year, so about 2 weeks in February every year. Typically, if you don't get inventory in January, and have enough for probably going into March. You might run out of inventory during that time because they do a full shutdown. But with all the COVID-19 stuff has been shut down, and some factories are still in quarantine or still working on getting out of that.
Yeah. And a quick comment real quick. We had Chantel Thompson. She actually said, I'm just here for Prince in the background. This is a great.
Out of the way.
Yeah, it was funny. I got a purple background. You got Prince there. So we did not plan this ahead of time. It was just.
We did not. I commented on how I liked your purple background. And that was partially because I am a big fan of purple because I'm a big fan of Prince.
Yep. So everybody's, they're getting these ideas to revamp their life, innovate, all these different changes they're trying to go through right now. So is there some like niches that you think are better for online selling? Like, are there a couple things that are probably top of mind, easier to get started on selling online?
Absolutely. Anything that is not sexy.
Okay.
So, and I'm not talking about lingerie. I'm talking about beauty. That's a category that a lot of people go into. There's a ton of money there. There's a ton of big brands that are there, L'Oreal, Clairol, and then you've got your Bobby Max and all these other people that are creating, big brands that are there that have big spending power. And then beauty is just it's a very superficial thing that people look at a lot. And there is a sexiness to it of, we've got this best beauty product. It's going to help you look younger. It's going to help make you feel better. So it's just something people are naturally driven to. Another category, so I'm kind of starting with the difficult categories. Another category that's very difficult could be the baby category. A lot of the products are smaller. We have a client right now who's in the baby category, and they're actually doing well. They're growing. But it can be a tough category to get into because a lot of people are picking all the same things, like a stroller cover or a changing mat. Those things are easy to produce. They're typically cheap to produce, and you can get them in mass. So a lot of other people are going to do that.
Okay.
Why drop shipping is not a legit business on Amazon, because anybody can drop ship those items. Anyone that has a computer, has a computer and that can access this website and get an account on Amazon, they can go and list the products on Amazon. So there ends up being a lot less margin, and you start to have a price war. And that's just always a race to bottom. So you're going to be selling something for $15 and you make 50 cents on it. Is it really worth putting up the $14.50 to make the 50 cents? So beauty is a real sexy category. Supplements is a sexy category. Totally something that you can do, but you really have to have a USP to be effective in that category. Something that's not sexy, rubber gloves.
Yeah, socks, like you said.
Socks, yeah, like a good, and Stance has actually kind of made socks more sexy, or Happy Socks. Some of those companies have made socks a lot more sexy and cool, and so more people are coming up with different designs. But it's starting to become more of a flooded market. So yeah, if you were looking at like just a high quality dress sock, that's a way that you can start to find a niche in an industry. And this is having done no research on super fine, nice dress socks, but you can start to niche down and say, okay, we're finding that there's not a lot of offerings for 100% cotton dress socks that are in plain colors and that last long. You start to find all these different variables that there's a spot missing in the market for, and then you start to create an item that fits that. But categories that are not sexy, like I said, rubber gloves for washing your hands at the dishwasher, or doing dishes at the sink. That's not very sexy, but it's something that people need. You can start to, and people are naturally gravitating towards that. I heard someone say one time, like a garden hose. They were able to create garden hoses that were not, it's not a sexy category. But people need garden hoses for countless reasons. If you can create a good quality product and people will buy that, you've potentially got a business there. And I think one of the other reasons why Amazon is such a great channel, people are 50% more likely to buy a brand they don't know on Amazon than any other site. So that means if they go to your site to Daryl's bow tie. Okay, we just started a retail business for you. You got your own custom line of bow ties. You could do that. Going to your site and seeing it, you could have the best brand assets in the world, but people are actually more likely to purchase your product on Amazon because they trust Amazon.
Yeah.
And that's why accessing that market is so important. So I'd say any category where there are not a lot of people, and there are more and more, increasingly more people on the marketplace that are making it more crowded.
Mm-hmm.
You can find an area where people just aren't as drawn to.
Yeah.
I think you've got a huge opportunity there to make a product and stand out, but just be ready for the onslaught of people that are going to come and that are going to mimic your product or that are going to try and mimic your offer that you have for your product.
Okay, that's a good insight to have ahead. And Chantel had a quick question. She said, what about downloadable products, ebooks, workbooks, templates, etc.?
That's something that we've talked about with people, and I personally don't have a ton of experience in that. What I can tell you is before you can actually start selling a downloadable product, you have to prove to Amazon, like in a CD or multimedia type area, like software. A lot of times you have to prove that you can deliver on the in-person software, the physical goods, before they will allow you to do a downloadable product. It's a program you have to apply for. So there are certain categories on Amazon that require approval for many different reasons. One of them is jewelry, just for obvious reasons. Obviously, you want to make sure the product is legit. You're getting it from legit sources. It's not falling off the back of a truck, or you're sourcing your diamonds from the right place, whatever. So people want to make sure they're getting high quality stuff. And yes, people are buying jewelry on Amazon, diamonds on Amazon. I know it might seem crazy, but the amount of luxury goods on the site is increasing. It's no longer just we're going to get you something for the cheapest price. It's one of Amazon's core values is selection. Mm-hmm. So they would rather show you 100 different options of something than just one, because they want you to have that choice. But remember, if your product doesn't have previous sales history, it might not show up on the first page. Right. And then we get back to that conundrum of you have to spend money on advertising to get your product onto the first page. And so that's an additional cost as well. But certain categories require just some extra verification from Amazon. They recently went through and started flagging pesticides. And they were flagging a book as a pesticide. I mean, just like silly stuff, but like if it said pesticide in the title or non-pesticide or something like that, Amazon just started flagging stuff. And they said, okay, if you want to sell a pesticide or anything that is pesticide adjacent, essentially, you have to be in the US. That was just a requirement they set.
Okay.
So you had to, verify your citizenship, all that kind of stuff, or that the business was based, in the U.S., even if you were overseas. And what was the category I was talking about? I kind of forget the initial.
We're talking about. She asked about downloadable stuff.
So you would need to get approved in there. It's not impossible, but it's definitely something that you could look into. I think you also have to realize that's something where, yes, there's an incredible amount of IP that's put forth into that, but it's a low capital upfront type of product. So a lot of people are thinking about doing that. That's why drop shipping became popular in the first place. Amazon sells on consignment. I don't have to buy the product until they pay me. So if I can float in between payment cycles, I can spend, $1,000 on these goods and maybe get $3,000 in return. But those margins are getting a lot smaller. So it's possible, but it's something that a lot of other people are thinking about as well. So you'd really need to have a product that people are wanting or that's in demand. That kind of brings us to authors. We've worked with authors before. It's a totally different ballgame. But you can get great access through Kindle readership. But is there a lot of money to be made in that? Potentially. It just kind of depends upon if I know a lot of people can get free books, free Kindle books. Wow, a matching cup with the background. I'm impressed. I would expect nothing less from a guy with a bow tie. But yeah, but it's something that a lot of other people are thinking about. So I would just keep that in mind.
Okay. So I'm glad you're talking about all this, because when you think about an Amazon business, people think it's like an easy thing. Like it's just like you just open it and go. So I'm glad you're giving all this information. So for people that need to dig deeper into this or want to look further into this, how should they do that right now? Should they go to your website, call you? What's the best way to kind of get those consults you talked about?
Yeah. So, please reach out to me on LinkedIn. You can email me directly, michael@thinkcartology.com. You can call me if you want, or reach out to me on LinkedIn, and I'll give you access to my Calendly. We can set up a conversation and talk there, or even just if you've got questions, reach out to me on LinkedIn and just shoot me a question. I'm happy to help facilitate something, help people, because I know who our target audience is. A lot of people are going to be outside of that. So if there's a way that I can point you in the right direction, I'm happy to do that. And that's part of our mission statement in serving. We want to do things a little bit differently as well. So that means everyone's remote. We don't have office spaces. So everyone is on my team is not really that affected by the shelter in place orders or things shutting down, where we've also got access to the internet. A lot of us are working from home anyway. Normally there's a coffee roastery that I go to because I know the owners, and I usually go there a few times a week. So I'm not doing that, but oh well, like my work's all still on my computer, so I'm fine in that regard. One of the things doing differently is giving back to our community. So that could be international community, that could be my local community here in Cincinnati, which is where I'm based out of. And that also means putting good, solid information out there. I'm putting out a lot of content on my LinkedIn account that's talking about Amazon and different principles there. I've got more content coming from us as a brand, but even beyond that, stuff that I'm working on creating that's going to be a good resource of information for people, so that they can say, hey, this is not the entrepreneur porn. This is not the get rich quick scheme. This is legit information. There's all these different kinds of metrics that people want to talk about and say, well, I was able to get a 5-to-1 return on advertising. And it's like, okay, well, yeah, but like, what was your product cost? And what kind of keywords were in there? A lot of times people will stuff branded keywords in a campaign because they convert at a much better level. Or you look at anything during November, December, conversions off the hook because people are purchasing. It's that time of year. Anyway, I digress. Just reach out to me on LinkedIn, michael@thinkcartology.com, and feel free to shoot me a message and just ask away.
Okay, I'll put that all in the comments afterwards. And Michael, I want to respect your time. I know you got some other meetings to get to, so thank you for jumping on here. And folks, just stay clean, wash your hands, all that good stuff. We're going to get through this whole thing. Amazon's kind of happy we're all a captive audience right now, but at least if you're going to get business, Michael can help you with that.
Yes, thanks so much for having me, and I really, really appreciate it. I had a good time.
No problem. Thank you. Well, tune in next time, folks. Thanks for joining us.
Take care, everyone.